Welcome to week 2 of Art 387. I will be looking at your journals over the next day, so you should have those in the next 24 hours read and back to you. You will have your quizzes as well. Those are already graded, and you should be able to look at those and see what your score is. You should also be able to go into them and see which answers you got correct and incorrect. If you have questions about the quizzes, if you want clarification on a question, don't hesitate to send me an email and just ask me. We can have a little discussion about it and help you work through whatever the issue might have been with that question. So this week, we don't have as much reading and lecture material. I know it was a lot last week to get through, but I applaud you for making it through all that material. And now you've got that background vocabulary and understanding of this whole concept of what is art under your belt. So plowing on ahead this week, in our reading, we're going to be reading just in the looking at art text, so nothing in the visual culture text this week. So reading chapter 3, Style and the Formal Elements of Art, and that's what we're going to be focusing on this week. We're going to be talking about our skills of describing. We're going to talk about abstract versus representational and non-representational art. And that's all to help set you up for your theory application paper that's going to be done and due by week 4 of this class. So there's a short video called The Skill of Describing, and then there's a very short lecture that I've done called Naturalistic, Realistic versus Abstract. And this is just going to help you work through those ideas and concepts because you're going to select works of art this week for that theory application paper, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. Your discussion board for this week. So last week you had a journal entry. This week you have a discussion board. And so again, these journals discussion boards, they're a place for you to really, voice your opinion and tell us what you think about these works of art. Discussion boards and journals, I'm not really grading them on grammar and formatting. As long as it's readable, as long as you're on topic, you're thinking critically, and you're writing me something that's interesting, most likely you're going to get full credit as long as it's on time as well. With the discussion boards, also make sure that you are engaging with your peers. So what I want you to do is download this PDF called Psychology of Color, and it looks like this. And this is a very broad introduction into the psychology of color. Just wanted to give that disclaimer. This is by no means an end-all be-all on this subject. This is just the tip of the iceberg. But what it's going to do is going to go over, suggested colors for painting rooms and why these would be a good idea. It's going to talk about, the basics. Our primary colors are yellow, blue, and red, and what kind of emotions these evoke. It's going to talk a lot about advertising as well and why we use certain colors, for example, in fast food. You almost always see fast food restaurants in red, yellow, and orange. Think of most of the fast food restaurants and those are usually the color schemes that we're seeing. It's rare. Sometimes you'll see something in blue or green, but not very often. It's usually over here, and it stimulates appetite, so makes sense. So I'd like you to just go through this just to get, a basic idea for this whole concept of color psychology. Then choose any artwork that has always moved you because of the use of color, and you're going to embed this image into your post with a proper citation. So when someone opens your discussion board entry, they should see the actual image with a citation below it. You want to describe why you find this image powerful, and then consider, does the artist's use of color parallel the information in the psychology of color chart? It may or may not. It's okay either way. Don't force it to. Just consider with the information that you're given in that chart if it does. And if it doesn't, maybe explore why it doesn't. And then you're going to comment on at least one of your peers' posts. So something you might think of asking is, what do you find especially effective about color? Or if there's something interesting they wrote in their post, you can go ahead and comment on that or ask them a question. So your answers for any questions I ask, they should be about 2 to 4 sentences in length. Remember, if you err more on the side of 4 sentences, that's, given me some real depth, some meat and potatoes there to these topics. You will also be graded again on your participation, so be sure to ask questions and answer when asked. And again, be sure to include your chosen artwork image embedded into your discussion board entry. And when you click on this discussion board, you will notice that I already have done one entry. And so this is an example and just something I found interesting to get you thinking about this whole idea of color. So I will let you read through this. I've written about a series of paintings that Monet did, where he was really studying the effects of light and color throughout the day and throughout different seasons of the year on the same scene. So go ahead and take a look at that. You can comment on that. I'd love to hear your feedback, what you think about these works and what I have to say about this whole concept of color. The next item on our list is your mini art cyclopedia. We went over this last week, so I'm not going to go over it again. Just let me know if you have any questions. I'm also willing to take a look at assignments. If you've done the first week and you want me to take a look at it to make sure you're on the right track, I'm more than happy to do that. If you want to send me your work early, just make sure that you give me a few days to look over it. So that is your first create assignment. So make sure you get those week 2 images done. And this is the big thing that I want you to really make sure you spend a little time thinking about this week. Go to the week 4 learning activities and read the instructions for the theory application paper. If you have questions, let me know, and I will talk about this in the week 3 and week 4 announcements, of course, as well. So by the end of week 2, this week, you must submit the 2 images that you will be writing your paper about. So one image should be naturalistic and realistic, and one image should be considered abstract. Now, this is why I've given you that mini lecture video on this whole idea of naturalistic and realistic versus abstraction, because I want to make sure you really understand the difference. So I want you to also pick images that should be of the same subject matter. So 2 portraits, 2 landscapes, 2 battle scenes, 2 paintings of a church, 2 paintings of dogs, whatever it might be, a sculpture of a dog and a painting of a dog. It can be different mediums, but I want it to be the same subject matter. So even if you're picking a portrait, don't pick a portrait of a little girl and an old man. Those are going to be hard for you to compare and contrast, which is what you're going to be doing. So make sure that you're thinking about comparing and contrasting something that is a very similar subject matter. Your images should be no older than 1830. So we're using that as a very loose date of the start of modernism. And so that's why I'm giving you that date. And, we're contemporary visual arts and culture. I could have pushed this to like the 1950s, but I wanted to give you, a big chunk of history to work with. So again, make sure your images are not older than 1830. You're going to submit your images either by embedding them directly into the assignment text editor or attaching a doc file, or a PDF is fine as well. So include the full citations for these images. So I want the artist's name, title of artwork in italics, the year the artwork was created, the medium, and the source. And this is to make sure that you've got all that information where it needs to be before you start writing your paper. So your images must come either from a museum or educational website. So this is important. And the reason I do this is because I don't want you just Googling something and coming up with a random image that you can't find information on the artist. That's going to make it really hard for you to research. If you're using these sources, we know that most likely the artists you're going to be finding are documented and have information on. This assignment is not a time to be really different and out there and try to pick really obscure works of art. It's okay to pick works of art by very well-known artists. And the reason is because you're going to need to be able to do some research. You want to pick artists who you know and are completely confident you can find a lot of information on. So don't be afraid to use, our Picassos and our Monets and our Magrittes and, these kind of iconic characters. That's perfectly fine for this because we know that we're going to be able to find the information that we need on these artists. So again, naturalistic, realistic. One should be abstract. Really make sure that you're polarizing those two. Pick a really naturalistic, realistic image and a very abstract image. Doesn't mean you have to pick something that's non-representational. In fact, I encourage you not to because we want it to be of those similar subjects. But I want you to make your job easier. And that's the reason why I have you pick the images out this week so that I can approve them and make sure that you're going to be successful in these papers. Sometimes I have students send me images and I say, you know what, this isn't really going to work too well. It's going to make your life hard, and I'll make suggestions for you. So make sure that you get those into me, and you also have your quiz. So that's what to do. Your quiz Sunday at midnight. Your images, your 2 images for your theory application paper, Sunday at midnight. And your mini art cyclopedia. Hopefully you've already done week 1's images and you're working on week 2's images. Again, let me know if you have questions about any of this. You've got your discussion board as well, so a lot going on. Let me know if you have questions, and have a fantastic week, everyone.